Chapter 18. Grayle. Here I was, a man on the doorsteps of 40, and this teenager was fighting me for a position with Caden. This was so fucking weird to say the least, because I thought I had passed through this segment in my life, where young men were competing with me for a boy or man. I hadn't gone through this since I was a man in my 20s, when I met this guy in college, and he was the most popular gay guy on the campus. Right now I couldn't remember his name and why I thought I had to have him, except for the sex. But then it wasn't about sex but proving something. I thought I needed him, and today for the life of me, I couldn't remember why I wanted him other than I thought he was so necessary at the time, for what I had to prove in college and just starting my journey as a gay man. I had been a top, and I wanted to experience that part of myself as being a dominant. But after I learned more about myself, I didn't have to be a dominant to thrive in this gay world. All I had to do was embrace myself and stop trying too hard to overpower another man. When I submitted to the man I loved, it was then I found freedom and pleasure, and that came when I had surrendered to Cade. Everything about Cade, his youth and defiance, intrigued and brought out something in me, and I opened myself up to him, and finally I discovered that he wasn't too young. His age had nothing to do with maturity. Just look at Austin. With the guy in college, finally one night when I'd claimed him, it was over. Just like that, the desire wasn't overpowering as it had been before. I felt very little once I wanted to be overpowered and the bottom. I even ignored him for the remainder of the school year, and when the next year began, he never came back. I wanted to apologize for what I had obviously done to him, but I couldn't. I was basically a bottom in bed, and a dominant among men. I just wanted to outbest the other men. It had been that flaw in me where I ended up with Austin. I knew he would sleep around with different men, and he even bragged about it when I first met him. And it was because of that which sent me on this road to getting him in my bed. I made him a proposal. He had lots of friends, but they weren't helping him get to where he needed to be in his profession. Once I got him on at this international company, I offered him a chance to be with me, simply because I wanted him for the wrong reasons. Later I learned that he wanted me also for the wrong reasons too. Therefore, I would say we were even. I suspected Sean had the same ideas about Caden. He wanted him for the wrong reasons, and that perhaps had to do with me. I was sure he was like the boy I used to be, cocky, entitled, and abrasive, when it came down to who I went after. However, time had taken care of that, but for now, I was the dragon Sean would need to slay to get the man he thought he wanted, my Caden. After storming out of the coffee shop, I remembered that I was supposed to buy a coffee and Danish for Austin. I stopped at a drive-thru and picked up something. He probably needed it by now. I didn't want to go back inside because that would look like I was worried, which I had been until I realized that I never would have to worry about Sean. It was Caden who was the unknown. Sean was me at a young age, and all I had to do was think about what I would have done at that age, and this age I was now, and it came to me. Pulling up to my home, it was now time to see Amy, who at this moment was the only one who was making me happy. When I walked into the house, Austin was sitting with the baby, looking maternal. That was a new look, and even I couldn't believe it. "I brought you some coffee and a Danish." He glanced at me and smiled. I didn't know I would enjoy being a father as much as I do now. "I envy you. You get to spend all this time with Amy. I never asked you what you wanted to name her. I just had it written on her birth certificate without thinking. It was my mother's name." I walked over and kissed the baby. Austin leaned over as if he thought that I would kiss him. It had been too long since we had connected, and I wasn't going to do that again. It was over and I knew it, but I didn't want to face it. Now Austin was thinking that we had something in common. Other than Amy, there was nothing. "Give me a few minutes to change and call Scott. He's a nurse and I need someone to care for her on a regular basis, and there's my father I have to see about. I can help you with your father, and? I raised my eyebrows. There was no way in hell I'd let Austin around my father. My father is my responsibility, and I hope you remembered what you did around his buddies. The way Austin glanced up at me, he remembered, and I was sure even with my father's minor lapses of memory, he wasn't going to forget the past and the part Austin had played in it. They said that the older one got, the more one would forget the present, but the past was always fresh in their memories. My mother asked me why I was with Austin when she'd become ill. He's handsome and I can see the attraction, my son, but he's not like you. You're warm and he's cold. I glanced at her and she answered my incredulous expression with, "A mother knows these things." I was sure she meant that he wasn't the kind to bring me roses or candy on Valentine's Day, or snuggle up with me and tell me he loved me. I knew that, but I thought he was the same as me until I met Caden, and it was then just being around him for those moments we were together in bed, and the little time we spent in the cabin, that if we ever got together in a meaningful way, it would be magic, and I could never want for more than him. When I walked into my parents' library, I fell into my father's favorite brown leather chair, and turned on the overhead lamp hanging behind that chair, and pulled out my phone. I should have called Scott, but instead I called the nearest gift and floral shop. "Can you send out a dozen red roses and a box of chocolates to this address?" I called out the address and the phone number of Cade's business. I didn't know if Cade liked chocolate or not, but he was going to get the most expensive box the place had. He could feed it to whomever he wanted to, I didn't care, but he was going to get it nonetheless. Now was the time I would have to work for the love I thought I had lost, and it felt good. After giving the man the address to Coffee, Tea and Thee, he said, "I know that shop. It's my favorite place to stop in the morning, and my wife loves the pastries. I have to bring my missus some special blended tea, a box of chocolate chip cookies, and she wants scones with her tea. She promised me she'd go on a diet. I didn't ask her to, because I love her just the way she is. What do you want the card to say?" I'd been overwhelmed listening to this man express the love he had for his wife, and he hadn't cared if she'd changed because of her love for sweets, and he didn't mind letting anyone know that she'd picked up a pound or two. He loved her just the way she was. It was time I found the words to express my love for Cade. To the man I love. Give me the chance to show you how much I love you and care about you. I want you to be part of my life and Amy's, and you'll never regret it. Love, Gray. Wow. I've read all kinds of notes but few from men, and they never send a message. I'll get these right out, and I'll deliver the items myself. Got to get the wife her treats, the florist said, before he hung up. I stopped off to check on Amy after I'd showered and changed. Austin had her in her bassinet, with her legs in the air, and she was discovering her feet. He was sitting there staring at her. Isn't she beautiful? I wonder what color hair she'll have when it comes in. Then he turned to me. We have to get a pediatrician. I'm going to take care of that, but we need a nurse. I have some things I have to do at the office periodically. You're always traveling, so I decided to hire Scott. I'll pay for his services. Austin turned around. I made a decision to take a job where I can fly into Nevermore and be around when you need me. But there's one thing I forgot to tell you. When I agreed to the child support for Amy, I can't give you as much as I thought because I rented an apartment here, and we have the one in New York, and I'm taking a pay cut. We don't have the apartment in New York. I'm selling it because Amy can use the proceeds for her college fund. Austin's eyes grew large. He appeared surprised, but he didn't dare oppose that, because he'd never paid a cent toward anything that had to do with it. As for the child support you owe, because I'm the custodial parent, we can come to an agreement as soon as I find out what Scott will charge me to be on call. He tightened his teeth. Well, I hope it isn't too much. I glanced over at Austin rounding his shoulders with his arms crossed. I'll need Scott starting Saturday because I have to go to the grand opening of Wounded Inked. I promised Tony that I'd be there. That's the tattoo shop, right? Can't I go with you and bring the baby? Oh fuck no. There's this flyer they handed out that said they would have a babysitter for the customers, and I've been meaning to get a tattoo. I raised an eyebrow because I didn't think Austin fell into that category. I'd never known him to want anything that would disfigure his skin. Grooming was his #1 priority, that and fucking around on me, but then I let that go, because now I had to concentrate on the people who showed me in every way that they loved me. When I'd held Amy in my arms and looked into her beautiful amber eyes, giving her a warm bottle, and had rocked her all night as she looked up at me, we had bonded and she knew she was safe. She'd closed her eyes with a satisfied breath and went to sleep. Now that was love. When my father and mother said to me that it didn't matter whether I was gay or not, they'd always support me in my endeavors, give me comfort and refuge if my life got too unbearable, and a place to live. Now that was love. When Caden said that he'd wait for me, however long it took for me to realize that I loved him and he loved me. Now that was love. I just hoped he hadn't given up on me, because of the new man in his life. My jealousy had begun to show. A man my age, no way, I protested.